Welcome to Pigpods, your success podcast. I'm Angelos.
And I'm Mo. Now, as you know, this podcast is all about success, and today we are truly privileged to be speaking to someone who, if you looked at just one area of his life, you would say he's super successful, but he's gone on to create great success in many areas. Our guest today is the ex-England Rugby Sevens captain, IRB International Sevens Player of the Year 2009. He's a broadcaster, a columnist, a world record holder, an adventurer, having sailed around the world and tracked to the North Pole, motivational speaker, and now Director of Digital Transformation at PwC, one of the big four professional services firms in the world. Ollie Phillips, welcome to Pigpods, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, mate. I need you to do some of my PR off of that intro, I tell you. Unbelievable, yeah, but good to be here.
You've done a fair few things in your time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm 35 and apparently look 55, so at least it's put the miles on me. There you go. So yeah, no, it's been great. It's been a topsy-turvy adventure so far, 35 years, but some of it planned, some of it not quite so planned, but that's part of the fun of it all.
It's not the age, it's the mileage, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning then, because you've got an incredible CV. What age did you get into rugby, and can you talk us through your journey leading up to being a captain for England?
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, to be honest, it started when I was about 4 years of age. I think I was a pretty boisterous, lively kid, so my mum just wanted me to go and do something, get me out of the house, and rugby was a good excuse to get me out of that house. So, just my local mini rugby club, to be honest, Hove, where I'm from, on the seaside. And then progressively, as I got a bit older, particularly in my teens, probably 15, 16, I started to get a bit keen and a bit serious about what I was doing. I remember I used to do some stupid stuff. That I used to think that being able to run loads was essential. So I used to get my mum to pick my brother up from school. I put my bag in the back of her car and I would race her home. That's what I used to do. I used to run home, and it was about 35-minute run. Yeah, I used to occasionally get there. If the traffic was bad in Brighton, I was like, yes, this is the dream. So all the little shortcuts. But no, I think that's sort of where it began, if you like, a bit of a mild obsession. And then I guess the litmus paper got lit when I was about 17, 18. I got selected for England under 16s, under 18s. Harlequins started coming in and sniffing around. I played in the Middlesex Sevens for them, and I got the bug. And then, if I'm honest, I would have stayed with Harlequins, but unfortunately, I mean, I was accepted to go to the LSE in London, London School of Economics, to study economic history with economics, which would have been a disaster because I would never have ever gone to my lectures. And I messed my A levels up. I was meant to get AAB, got BBD, and was like, oh, okay, I should probably go and do something here. So I actually put career, if you like, on hold. I obviously loved it with a passion, but I went to Durham University and luckily got into Durham. Got up there, did my 3 years, and then end of my first year, Newcastle Falcons came in, 20 minutes up the road, and from there I began my full-time professional career. And I never forget turning up. It was just after the World Cup 2003. My first training session was on my own with Johnny Wilkinson, and I was like, wow, this is going to be a roller coaster ride. This is going to be fun. And yeah, and from that point on, I sort of never looked back. Really, just very, very fortunate that, within 6 months of playing, I was picked for England to go away to Dubai for my first tournament. And then fast forward that, 3 years later, I was captain and sort of holding that role for a few years, and it was absolutely brilliant. And if I'm honest, in a real purple patch for English rugby at that point in time. We had a great season in 2008, 2009 in particular.
So how does one get the call to be the captain for England? Is it a phone call, text message? Hey, Ollie, you being captain today? Yeah, all right, whatever. Or is it something?
There's no one left. There's no one left. Well, for me, it was my coach at the time, Ben Ryan, and yeah, there was a bit of a build-up. Like, nobody really knew. We went to Dubai, and nobody still knew who was going to be captain. And we've been training since October. This was in December. So there was there was quite a few strong leaders in the group, a lot of experience in the group. And when he gave me the nod at the start of Dubai, when he read out the squad selection and said, and Ollie's going to captain the team this season, I was like, wow. I don't know, a bit of a culmination of your dreams and your ambitions and whatever to do that, and to find out with all your team there, and and to be honest, I was pretty fortunate. The team that I got asked to lead, they were so talented. It was quite easy to lead them because they were that good. So going out onto a field and running around in this purple patch for English rugby, where I think we hit 6 finals that year. We won 3 of them. Just this incredible adventure, and of success. And we came second in the world that year. I was really lucky at the end of that year. I got voted as a IRB World Player of the Year. So to turn around and go, oh yeah, I'm the best player in the world. And if I'm honest, it was just all thanks to all of them. I mean, I just sort of stood in the middle and looked a bit old, yeah.
And racing your mum home.
Yeah, and racing, yeah. All started from racing Big Trace, as she's known. Race Big Trace, as they say. Yeah. So I used to race her home. That's where it all started.
That's awesome.
And so, do you think that your success was just as a result of doing something that you absolutely loved, and that was all that you wanted to do? And obviously, there was a lot of hard work, but was the work easier because of you were doing what you loved?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that helped a lot. Because on those, I don't know, rainy days or crappy days where you don't really want to get out of bed or do something else, I just loved the whole thing from start to finish. Now, the playing was great fun and a massive ego boost, playing at Twickenham, playing all over the world, whatever. But even the training, I loved it. I loved feeling fit. I loved going in and having the banter every day. I loved the sport of rugby. So that it wasn't a chore. It wasn't a job for me. Luckily I was paid to do it, but I would have done it for free. I can tell them that in hindsight. I wouldn't have told them that at the time. But I think that was the crucial part.
So that must have made it even harder when you got to the point with your injury. Can you talk us through that period and sort of how that came about and how you felt at that point?
That was dark. Yeah. So that was in 2013. It was a World Cup. We'd basically got to a World Cup final. We were playing New Zealand. I was sort of, I wish I could tell you it was this big glorious moment that I sort of reached out with 5 people on my back and scored the winning try for us to win the World Cup, but it wasn't that in the slightest. No one around me, no one near me, chasing down the wing, and all of a sudden, bang, I just dropped to the floor. No explanation. And I think the most frustrating part of the whole thing, even to this day, is nobody's been able to tell me what it is. So
it was to do with your calf, was it?
Yeah. So they said I severed the nerve in my calf. I don't quite know how you do that, but you have to be explosive, and I'm not one of those things. So, but I remember coming off, and at the time, the plan was I'd had a 2-year contract on the table from England. I was going to, in theory, go to the Commonwealth Games and hopefully to the Olympic Games. All of that went within 2 hours. So from having this sort of clear direction of travel, hopes and ambition, it just stopped dead. And that was really, really tough, really, really tough. Not only from the fact that that had gone out the window. I'd lost contracts before, whatever. That you can deal with that sort of stuff. That's, if I'm honest, it's just money. It doesn't really matter in the pales into insignificance. What was frustrating was all my injuries in the past had been you broke your leg or you've dislocated your shoulder. This is what you've got to do. These are the various stages you've got to do. If you're diligent and you're meticulous about your planning, and you'll get there. And it's 9 months and you try and do it in 6 or whatever it is. Whereas this was, we don't know what you've done. We don't know what you've done. So you could stay here for next year, do 8 months with us. Hopefully your nerves recovered and you can come back and play. Equally, it might not be that. We've got no idea. We've tried loads of different things and just it's not working.
Well, you strike me as a determined guy, Ollie. So, a doctor saying to you within a few hours, this is, it's quite serious. You're probably going to think to yourself, well, no, we're going to overcome this. It's just a challenge, just a temporary thing. When did you accept that actually this is not going to get better? This is probably going to.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. So 5 weeks after having that injury, I left. To tell the full story, that evening when I did my calf, I call it serendipity, but I had a phone call from a guy called Sir Robin Knox-Johnson. He was the first person to ever single-handedly sail around the world. And he runs and founded a company called the Clipper Around the World Race. And he just said, look, I've seen you got injured, blah, blah, blah. It would be great if, would you be up for doing the Clipper race? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've never sailed before in my life, but, why not? A few things I've never sailed, a few minor details I've never sailed before, and also when does it leave? Because at the moment I can't really walk. Yeah. He said, we'll leave in 5 weeks' time. And you need to do 3 weeks back-to-back training in order to qualify for the insurance and everything else like that. So like, all right, well, let's do it. So literally from doing my calf, within 4 days I was down in Gosport doing my training for 3 weeks back-to-back with them. Did that, packed up my flat, said goodbye to all the family and left. So within 5 weeks, that was the sort of time scale. And then I was away for an entire year. And my thought process was, go have this incredible life adventure, because why do you want to sit around back in the UK hoping that in 7-8 months your leg might have recovered? You could go sail around the world, have this incredible adventure, amazing life story. You'll be slightly longer, you'll be 11 months, but you'll have still given it the same rest and recovery, and if it's okay, you can come back and play then. I came back off the sail race, tried for 6 months, went to Dubai again in the December, and I knew December 2014 that was it, done.
So, and at that point, obviously coming out of the playing sport professionally, did you have concerns about where you were going to get income from and what you were doing? Because it's sort of, you're so heavily reliant on your body to be able to bring in income and things like that in your profession. Yeah.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I incredibly fortuitous. I mean, I believe it's to do with networks and your ability to build relationships and stuff. Where and you'll see why in a minute. But I did the sail race, so I didn't necessarily have to think. For me, it brought life back to a really simplistic way of living. We slept, ate, sailed.
Yeah.
That was life. It was brilliantly and beautifully simplistic. Amazing that we could go from London to Rio de Janeiro. No phones, no email, no nothing. That was it. The company that you had, and then the ocean. It was just amazing. And then because of the people that did that in my job now, where I work at PwC, that came about through one of the crew members that was on my boat that did one leg, and they said at the end of their time, look, I've never met anybody that can lead a team the way you lead a team. You need to come and work for us. And I still had ambitions to play for England and everything else. So I was like, oh yeah, whatever, do it later. Cheers, mate. Don't even know where you work. And then it became a bit of reality. I fast forward 15 months from that conversation, and I was offered the opportunity to join this firm and become a director of digital transformation here. And I always I focused a bit on cash flow. When I finished the Clipper race, they asked if I would stay on as a bit of an ambassador and help with sales and sponsorship. So I was like, okay, I'll get into that while I'm trying to rehab and come back. And then, and then from December 2014, Dubai, after that, I was like, right, now this is the time where I'm not gonna be able to, the old me is not gonna be able to play anymore.
So I want to discuss your transition into becoming a director of digital transformation at PwC. Presumably you didn't have much experience of being a digital transformation expert from your background as an international rugby player.
Yeah. So
can you just...
Game Boys and things like that, they were good for us. No, I had absolutely no clue. I mean, that was one of the things I said to the business when I first came in. They said, they made me a job offer. They said, look, we'd love you to be a director on our digital transformation team in tax. And I was like, brilliant. It's just a couple of, bit like the sailing thing. Couple of details here.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about PwC. I don't know anything about digital, and I don't know anything about tax. And their reply was, don't worry, you're perfect. We've got loads of people that know lots about, those things.
Yeah.
What we don't necessarily have a lot of we don't necessarily have our people that can help pull all that together. Relate to the various different people that are within the business, relate to our clients, communicate to our clients, and translate what the hell it is that we're doing, and the value that we can offer. So that's where you come in on it.
So do you think those skills are inherently built within you, or do you think you picked them up through rugby, or do you think it's a combination of the two?
I don't think I was born, that way. I just think it's definitely happened over time. You get conditioned to a certain way. So I guess I was naturally a extrovert, outgoing. I enjoy people's company, whereas some people don't work that way. So I find it quite easy to be in an environment with new people, make new relationships, find out a bit about them, and that lends itself well into the world that I now work in. Equally, if somebody had asked me to be a coder, or perhaps somebody that is just reading numbers all day long, that wouldn't be my skill set. I wouldn't be very good at that. So it's about, for me, I guess, having good self-awareness and understanding what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and then equally the management that either you're working for or with or whatever, they understand, they recognise what you're really good at and what you're weak at, and then building a team that complements each other around that. And that's, if I'm honest, that's what it directly relates to sport at the same time. We had the same thing. I was a winger or a centre, so my job was to sort of be out there, run fast, try and score tries. Equally, nobody was asking me to be a hooker or a second row. And if they did, I'd be pretty bad at it. We wouldn't win many games, or I would be a massive handicap. So, good coaches recognise that, okay, we need somebody who's really, really good at this role. We put them in that role, in that position, and then we work on the collaborative bit to get the team fully firing.
And I think the parallels that we can draw there with it was going to be my next question, but you've basically answered it, was how do you draw parallels in the business world in terms of transferable skills and being resilient when you're faced with challenges? If you've got skills that are transferable into other industries or to other parts of the industry you're in, that will really help you.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, the transition for me away from sport into PwC was incredibly hard, much harder than I thought it was going to be. And it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. And I constantly kept asking myself that same question, like, what are these? Everyone says you've got transferable skills. What does that mean? I don't understand. I can't just come in and start smashing people at the, photocopying machine or something like that. Be like Terry Tate running around smashing everyone around. So that doesn't work. How do I put these skill sets you're talking about, which are sort of, I guess, more softer skills?
Well, I was going to say you're dealing. You could potentially say you're dealing. I don't want to say with softer people, but you're dealing with people that aren't used to playing rugby in the pouring rain. You've got to deal with people that sit at a desk all day, every day. And
I mean, in this firm there are some incredibly talented people. The hardest challenge for me was coming in as a director and being surrounded by, I guess, people that knew miles more than me, lots more than me, and previously in my other career, there were lots of people that knew lots about rugby, but equally I was just as competent. I could argue back. I could say, no, we're going to go this way. I could back it up with meaning and reason. Whereas in coming to PwC, I was in theory leading, but without any knowledge of why we should go this way. So I was fully and utterly dependent on the people around me who were saying, no, we need to do this, and I was like, all right, well, we need to do that then, So, and that was uncomfortable for me. That was massively uncomfortable.
So what would you say the most difficult challenge you faced spanning your career in rugby, spanning the career in PwC?
I would say the biggest challenge for me was that transition, definitely, around the recognition, acceptance of the fact that, okay, everything that since I was 4, my whole identity had been built upon, i.e. Ollie and my passion point, but Ollie the rugby player. That's who I was. If I went into meetings with anyone, you'd be like, oh, hi, I'm Ollie. What do you do? I play rugby. Play rugby for a living. That was, and even my first year and a half in PwC, even though I was a director at PwC, they'd be like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Ollie. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I used to play rugby. That's what I would say, rather than I'm a director at PwC.
It's like you're creating a new identity.
Yeah. 100%. That's exactly what I am doing, was doing. And I found that transition the hardest to accept, was that, okay, everything that I knew and felt confident about and built all my values on and was my entire identity, now wasn't anymore.
So did you find it slightly disconcerting where the guys at the top saying, Ollie, we want you. You have the skills that we need, and you're thinking, well, actually, you know, what can I bring to the table?
Yeah. The classic, like, feeling like a fake. Yeah, you get that all the time in terms of being in an environment where people respect and would like your opinion, but you devalue it because you don't feel like you are let's say, a subject matter expert.
Yeah. But you're still here.
Well, yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, still here.
You have been demoted a few times.
No one's sacked me yet, so that's good news.
So you must be doing something right then. So if someone is facing that crisis of confidence, what would you say to them? Just keep going, or are there any action points that you would recommend they take?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's different strokes for different folks, so I would never like to prescribe anything to anybody, but one thing that massively helped me was a big sort of self-awareness piece, understanding me and what moved me and motivated me was a crucial factor in my transition across from, I guess, being driven by playing for England or keeping up that identity as a successful rugby player, and I guess rebranding into whatever it might, successful PwC or successful businessman. I think it was all about just understanding what my reasons for moving were and being comfortable at the. Weirdly enough, when we used to play for England, our saying used to be you had to be comfortable at being uncomfortable. It was just all about basically being able to perform when you were absolutely banjacks and you had nothing left. Obviously, you don't run up and down the stairs in PwC and then try and do your work when you can't breathe.
You don't have scrum meetings around the front of the
but we do call them scrums.
They do, yeah.
But it's at the same time, for me, it was getting used to the fact that, okay, I am going to be out of my comfort zone. The difference is when I was absolutely blowing out my lungs, I kind of enjoyed that experience. I loved that feeling because I could feel the endorphins in my body and everything else like that. In this environment, I don't get any endorphins. Okay, you're in territory here, Ollie, which is unknown, uncharted. You're not really sure what lots of people are talking about around the table. You need to figure this out as you're going along, and at the same time, not drop the ball. And that was. That's hard, but equally, I've got to come to terms with the fact that, and actually got excited a bit more about learning new things.
Because you've gone from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
One where you're running around maximum physical activity is a combat zone almost.
Yeah.
To where you're sat around a table for 2-3 hours listening, mental engagement and.
Sure. Still, but bizarrely, still a combat zone.
Yeah.
But just a very, very different guys and different emotions, different feelings, if you like. Much more tactical, much more strategic. About how do we deliver as much value to this relationship, to this client as possible? How do we win this business? Whereas for me, it was how do we win this game? And normally that could be dictated by being bigger, faster, fitter, stronger, whatever. That would help enormously. In this business. You can equate that exactly the same. I would argue we've got, the most qualified, intelligent, competent, skillful people to fulfill a task, but it's just that the emotions, the feeling for me are different, and it's getting my body or me used to that. Is that, okay, Ollie, you're going to get the highs and lows in a different way now. But
so you mentioned sort of it was frustrating not having the rugby outlet. You've still got the outlet now in terms of sort of broadcasting and the writing that you do. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And does that give you that kind of, even though it's not the same as playing, it gives you the opportunity to talk about it? Yeah,
it's a lot easier to talk about it in an armchair, I can tell you that. But no, it does. I mean, I never want to lose connection with the game because I love it. I love it so much. I was passionate about the sport. I love playing it. And it's given me a huge amount. I wouldn't have sailed around the world if it wasn't for that. I would have gone to the North Pole if it wasn't for rugby. I wouldn't be in this place if, realistically, if it wasn't for rugby and everything else like that. So, yeah, I like to stay involved and see what it is, and I'm still passionate about it. So, writing in in newspapers and commentating on for Sky or whoever else. That's an opportunity in a way for me to still remain at the sort of elite level of the sport and keep my fingers in the pie, if you like.
Are there any elements of that are a challenge for you? Do you find yourself trying to outdo your own sort of self in terms of the broadcasting and writing, or does that come quite easily?
No. I think I just enjoy the challenge in general, whether that's in PwC or in writing or whatever. When you're writing or when commentating, you need to keep things succinct, punchy, powerful, engaging. You know, that constant thought process in your head of like, okay, how do I deliver something here that's really good without being contrived and too sort of, you know, pre-programmed. You know, and that's the challenge, and it's quite fun doing that. And you know, I can talk the hind legs off a donkey, so at least it gives me an opportunity to gas away on a microphone.
What I find interesting, Ollie, is that you had this career-ending injury, and it could have ruined you. You know, you could have hit the bottle and destroyed, but it has perhaps been a blessing in disguise.
Well, yeah, yes and no. Like, I mean, obviously I would love to be sitting here. You know, if someone said, Ollie, would you trade all the 3 or 4 the things that you did in those 3 or 4 years between your injury and an Olympic silver medal, which is what GB went on to win against Fiji? I'd probably say, yeah, I'd trade it. So, whilst, you know, sometimes life deals you lemons, and you either make lemonade or you chuck it in the bin. And, you know, and for me, it was just about, okay, these are the cards that have been dealt. How do we make the most of this situation? You know, sailing was an opportunity. If someone said to me when I was 25, do you want to sail around the world and is this a life ambition? I said, no chance, you know. But I was injured, nothing else to do, great opportunity, life experience. It taught me so much about myself in hindsight now that it was a massive blessing in disguise, but I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't a passion point. So sometimes it is about, it's about pursuing things that perhaps are a bit the unknown that leads to something else that suddenly is a load of fun, and that's been interesting.
I've got one last rugby question.
Yeah.
So you're at Twickenham, you've got the crowd there, they're all shouting, come on, England.
They shout a little bit more.
Yeah.
Different line.
Yeah. Come on. I think we need to get you.
Come on, chap.
Yeah. Tally ho. Yeah.
What's it like playing for your country, and with all that pressure, and you know you're winning, you've got a great team behind you. You know, could you just very quickly explain to us who may not have that?
Yeah, it's so difficult to explain. But if you imagine, for those people that are listening, imagine, I haven't had it yet, I'm having my first child in April, but imagine that euphoric feeling that you get when you're being told you're having a child, or you have a child, or that sense of nervous energy that you get about proposing to your partner or going into a big deal or whatever. Like that emotion, multiply it by 20 more, and then you run out into this cauldron of noise and euphoria, and some people crumble, some people absolutely revel in it, and I just loved it. It was, you know, I don't really drink, I've never done drugs, but it's probably the closest thing I could imagine to doing drugs, you know, like this incredible adrenaline hit that suddenly you feel like you could just take on the world. And I think that's one of the reasons why you get issues when, you know, players come out of it, because, you know, these huge emotional highs and lows, you know, you get these huge highs at the start of the game, bang, and then if you win, it keeps going, and if you lose, it really plummets. You know, they're addictive. You know, it becomes an addictive environment, and when you do it for 12 years, 15 years, it's like it becomes habitual for you, and I can only liken it to those people that have done it as the greatest feeling that you could possibly imagine. And the only times I've ever had a similar experience of that nervous energy and of that euphoria are those major life moments for me, being told I'm having a kid, going to propose and get married. The closest I've ever had in a sporting capacity is when I did a white collar boxing fight, and that whole nervous energy of walking into the ring, of what's going to happen here.
How did you do?
I got knocked out.
Oh, did you?
After 30 seconds. So thankfully
incredible.
I had the euphoria, but that was about it. And I can't remember anything else after that. The highs and the lows.
Too much euphoria, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Too much adrenaline. My entrance was perfect. 4.5 minutes it took me to get in the ring. 30 seconds to get out of it, but there we go.
Ollie, this podcast is all about success, and as such, we ask everyone that we interview, what does success mean to you? So for yourself, what does success mean?
Success for me means having a level of self-awareness and understanding as to what you're all about. So understanding your purpose and value sets, and then going out and fulfilling them. I think even myself, when even my early 20s, I was driven by winning, and I was driven, and that could be in success in terms of selections or captaining England or number of victories, cash. It's all pretty shallow. It's all fairly hollow, and it doesn't last. The consistency's not there, because if it's not rooted in real purpose and real value and real self-awareness as to why this is really important to you, what is it achieving, what higher thing, if you like, is it achieving for you, and what itch is it scratching, then it's not going to last very long. And that's what I've learned definitely in the last sort of, I would say, more 3-4 years. That success for me means actually coming back, stepping back, and understanding in me, having that self-awareness, say, why is this important to me, and what is it fulfilling, or which stepping stone is it towards whatever goal it is that I want to.
More the fulfillment than the achievement.
Yeah. Because that'll, all these great things we've spoken about, they're history now. Someone else is doing it.
You've got to be happy with yourself every day.
Of course, yeah. So, sailing around the world, playing for England, going to the North Pole, all amazing experiences, great memories that I love forever. Everyone in theory can do it, So they're just little specks in history, but they need to be part of something that, for you, is a really self-fulfilling journey that is part of a wider mosaic, if you like, and that's what I've started to realise now is what success is for me.
And finally, Ollie, can you give our listeners one bit of advice to help them achieve that success?
I'm not particularly great at this yet as well, if I'm honest, right? But just taking some time to pause and reflect is a really crucial element. A bit like, if I liken it to my sporting days, everyone used to tell us that rest and recovery was crucial. Make sure you take the day off, and a lot of us were so, I guess, insecure that we thought actually doing that, we're cheating ourselves out of by taking a day off and eating an ice cream or something like that. It was detrimental to our bodies, and bizarrely, and the irony of that is that value is so it resonates so much now with what I'm doing, in terms of you need to put your foot on the pedal and just brake for a minute. Take some time to reflect as to where you are, what's going on, what's happening around you, what direction of travel you're currently going in. Is that where you really want to be going? What does that all sort of mean over all the context? So that then you can assess and move forward. And I don't think enough people do that. I definitely don't do that enough. And it's the most crucial part of that, success mantra, if you like, which is, go forward, take a step back, see what's happening, keep moving forward. Is this the direction I want to go? Okay, keep going.
One of my old bosses said to me, which is, I think, is a common phrase, you don't want to get to the top of the ladder and realise it's against the wrong wall. I really like that, because it's like you can be achieving, but then you get to the top and you're not fulfilled, because it's not actually what you want to be doing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And so many people do that.
Yeah.
So many people. How many multimillionaires you see out there that are just blissfully unhappy? So it's about having that self-awareness to understand why you're doing stuff, rather than just tearing into it, going, hell leather at something. And then suddenly at the end of it realising, I've got a huge sack of money, but my 2 kids don't know who I am. I've lost my wife, or whatever, or I've done this all on my own, or whatever it is. Those stories that you hear all the time, and that's just, I think that's a human intuition, just to plough forward. And the hardest thing is to actually take a pause.
Very wise words.
Well, yeah.
That we all need to.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you for your time today.
Our pleasure. Great to be on the
really
podcast.
To hear, your story is really inspiring. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Best way is probably every social media platform going at the moment. So, on Twitter, obviously, it's at Ollie Phillips 11. My LinkedIn, If you look me up, I'm on there. You know, it's the world is now becoming increasingly smaller and smaller. So that, you know, if people who are like-minded, have got great ideas and great ambitions, want to get in touch and go for it.
Yep. And we'll link you up in our in the podcast post as well. So we want to know your thoughts at home and experiences on Ollie's incredible journey. Drop us an email at hello@pig.network or get in touch on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram.
So thank you for listening to Pig Pods, your success podcast. Click subscribe, leave us a review, and we look forward to your comments on the Facebook page and YouTube channel. I've been Angelos.
And I've been Mo.
And you've been listening to Pig Pods, and see you again on the next exciting episode.